Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the new screensavers is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
Highlights from E3, DreamWorld's AR headset, and the Oculus Go. Live from the Twit Studios in beautiful Petaluma, California, it's the new Screensavers! Yeah, baby. Whoa! Welcome to the new Screensavers. I'm Leo Laporte.
I'm Jason Howell.
And yes, I'm wearing dead cats on my shirt.
Oh, I guess they are.
It's Dia de los Gatos Muertos.
Yeah. I mean, it's very stylish, I gotta say. I'm a little jealous.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah?
Yeah. This comes...
Where'd it come from?
Well, you know, there's this guy. His name is Wynton Churchill. No relation.
Okay.
And Wynton lives down in San Miguel de Allende. He's a barefoot, what he calls a barefoot consultant. He helps people work and travel overseas. So work while they're traveling, right?
Yeah.
And so he's in San Miguel, which is a place in Mexico where a lot of expats end up. And apparently there's a really nice store there called Abrazos, which means hug. SanMiguelDesigns.com. And for some reason, Wynton, out of the goodness of his own heart, sends me new shirts every few months. And this is one of the new ones. They're running low on designs.
I don't think so. I think
That's pretty cool.
Their trend setting is what they're doing.
It is.
Actually,
it's pretty cool.
I feel very underdressed at this moment.
Thank you, Wynton. We got a great show. We're going to have some fun today. This is going to be VR, AR world.
Yeah, we were talking before the show. I'll be lucky if we emerge at the end of this show and my hair isn't, a million
You're definitely going to have
directions.
marks on your forehead.
I'm going to have hot face, depending on what visor I'm wearing. It's going to be a lot of fun, though.
So we've got an augmented reality startup called DreamWorld. They're looking to make headsets more affordable, more accessible. They've got a $400 DreamGlass. It tethers to your phone, so you don't need to have a big gaming PC to attach it to.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. I'm going to be doing a review of the Oculus Go.
So you did the Lenovo a couple of weeks ago.
Did the Lenovo Mirage Solo a few weeks ago. We got the Oculus Go now, and kind of compare them a little bit and tell you what I think.
Megan Morrone, who's taking over know-how with an IoT segment with Florence Ion, has become the IoT queen. She's got some new light bulbs, not from Hue or Philips. This is from Monoprice. They're, I presume, inexpensive, affordable smart LED bulbs and smart plugs. She'll have a review a little later on.
Monoprice is everywhere. Father Robert Ballas is going to show you how to make a self-contained, battery-powered Raspberry Pi Nook called a LiPi. That's what he's
Or a
calling
LiPo.
Anyway.
Could be LiPo.
Could
we might
be
have gotten our wires
one letter
crossed.
off.
He could be getting LiPo, and we just thought it was the LiPi. We'll also get some questions. No, I'm just kidding. Father, you're beautiful. Don't ever change. We're also getting some questions in our mailbag, our call for help. But we're going to go to Perth, Australia. Perth, the West Coast.
A little bit later.
But first, hot topics. And of course, there's one story. There's only one story this week.
Yep.
Huge story. On Monday, federal judge says there's no conflict of interest. AT&T can acquire Time Warner. No restrictions. They're vertical, not horizontal. They don't compete with one another. And Friday it goes through. It's like, okay, you gave us permission. Now get ready because Comcast will be acquiring probably parts of 21st Century Fox next. They upped their bid. This is a big go-ahead for T-Mobile and Sprint, for a lot of big mergers. It shows that despite opposition from the Department, by the way, fairly tepid opposition from the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
These things are a go-ahead. Nilay Patel has a very good article. I recommend, if you're interested, that you read in The Verge about how the judge got this horrifically wrong. And it's the timing is the problem. The timing is, because at the same time as that happened, on the same day practically, net neutrality ended.
Yeah, it was kind of a 1-2 punch this week as far as this is concerned.
And no accident.
Yeah.
I want to say, in my opinion, no accident. Yeah. This is something AT&T has been praying, hoping, and dreaming for, along with Comcast and all the other big ISPs. So here's why Nilay thinks this is a bad decision. The judge says you can't prevent it because they're not in the same business. But what really is happening is that companies that do pipes, AT&T, Comcast, they provide access,
Right.
are buying companies that do content.
Right.
And of course, it's a great synergy for the company that does the pipes because they not only have the content, they control delivery. That should really be a red light to everybody because that means that this content has now a special advantage over these pipes. The last time this happened was when the movie industry was first starting out. I don't know if you probably don't remember this.
Way back when the movie industry was first forming?
In the 20s and 30s.
I feel like I was there, but yeah, I may have missed that.
The big motion picture companies owned the theaters.
Yeah.
So it was a huge problem because you couldn't be an independent motion picture company. You couldn't get into theaters.
Right.
All the motion pictures came from a handful of companies, and they were showed in those theaters. Now, that was for historic reasons that happened. They came up together. But the courts broke it up because the company that makes the content and the company that makes the distribution should not be in the same boat.
And yet, at this point, it really seems to be a reversal of that, right? It's kind of like this whole broadband, buying media company thing it's in style right now. Verizon did this not too long ago. They did it with AOL.
They're all
Yahoo.
doing it.
And this in particular, I mean, not that Verizon's situation wasn't a signal, but now coupled with the net neutrality rules going away completely, really seems like a big signal for anyone else that might think they could do this. Now's the time.
Sure.
Jump on that right now.
And the net neutrality rules protect consumers because they say, well, if you own the pipes, you can't prioritize your own content. You can't discriminate against content. You can't charge extra for content. But without those rules, you might imagine that if you have an AT&T phone, actually Neil has a picture of his AT&T screen. He says you might imagine the future of AT&T phones will be loaded up with garbage pre-installed for all of the things that AT&T owns. You should add HBO, CNN, TNT to that because now they own that as well. And here's the real problem. It's hard to explain this to consumers.
Yes.
Zero rating. That's the real issue. It's not that they're going to charge more to companies they don't own. They're just not going to charge you for bandwidth for watching AT&T DirecTV Now or TNT or HBO or CNN. That's going to give those companies a huge advantage and disadvantage Netflix. The judge, according to Neil, didn't really even seem to understand that Netflix had to use AT&T to reach AT&T customers. He thought Netflix just magically appeared in your house. And this is another example of, unfortunately, our legislators and our courts not being technically savvy and really missing the boat. So I mean, it's not hair on fire time, but watch. Jeff Jarvis, who has a strong opinion on this, says this is just old media companies struggling to stay competitive in a world where people under 25 watch YouTube. They don't watch HBO.
Oh, isn't that the truth?
Except that they do watch. They watch Game of Thrones, right? They watch Westworld. They watch these shows. And if AT&T consolidates, it's as bad as a movie theater owning, the movie companies owning the movie theaters. It means it's hard for companies like mine, like Twit, or any young streaming company to come along and compete against these pipe-owned companies. So it's a very bad thing. It's a done deal.
You know what? Don't worry. I wouldn't worry if I were you because AT&T says that it's going to manage separation between its business units.
Of course it is.
So, don't worry about like any other business units like communicating with the other ones.
Why would they buy it if they're not going to...
I love, yes, what is it? They always throw in that word, we don't intend on limiting Time Warner content distribution. Of course not. Of course not. Isn't intend such a convenient word?
To really add insult to injury, the judge adds, literally in the decision, quotes AT&T chairman and CEO Randall Stephenson. He says, it's a vision deal. It's a vision deal.
What does that even mean?
Why would the judge even put that garbage in his decision? That's a vision deal. I'll get this. This is Neil I's vision, and I think it's much more likely. He says he looks forward to the day when the judge gets his brand new AT&T phone and finds it larded up with special AT&T owned content. I agree. We'll see. Anyway, it's a shame, but it's done.
Yeah.
We're going to live in it. What else happened? Oh, this is a big deal. Apple, at least, is working in our behalf, I think. They announced that they are going to do an update to iOS that will undercut the tools that law enforcement's buying from Celebrite and others that let them, if you get pulled over, let's say you had a couple too many and you're driving drunk. Don't ever do that.
Don't do
kids.
that.
But you get pulled over. If the law enforcement officer says, give me your phone, and takes it back to the car, he can plug it into this device from Celebrite that sucks everything out of your phone, unplug it, 10 seconds later, give it back to you. That is a real potential problem, right? He's searching your phone. He's got probable cause, he might say, but he's got everything that's on your phone.
Sure.
Not just the stuff relevant to whatever he pulled you over for, but everything. So Apple's going to do its best to prevent that. They say after an hour of disuse on an iPhone, the lightning port will go away.
Or an hour of an hour of the phone not being unlocked.
Yes.
I think is what it is specifically. So if you're using these Celebrite tools, and I mean basically they're brute forcing. They've got a way around it to where they can kind of bypass the current security that would limit what you could do, you know, after X amount of unsuccessful password attempts. They've got a way around that, and this new rule essentially puts that stopgap in after an hour of incorrect or no successful
They
security
physically
attempts.
disable the port. Now, you pointed out that some hackers have already said, well, we got around that.
Isn't that always the case?
I hope not, but if it is, then if the
seriously.
Celebrate thing is based on a hack. I mean, it's always based on a hack.
Yeah, it always is. And actually, to be quite honest, I'm kind of surprised it took Apple this long, because they've been very vocal about not wanting, not feeling at all comfortable with the idea that there are any of these insecurities out there in the wild. This seems like a really great way to kind of bottle that up, but there will always be a way around this stuff.
I guess. Apple has also said we're going to put limits on how apps can use your contacts. This has always bugged me. When you get an app like Snapchat that says, hey, we'd like to let you know when other Snapchat users, when friends in your contact list join Snapchat. Oh, I would like to know that, right? So do you give us permission to access your contacts? And then they download all your contacts.
And
by the
all
way,
your friends' contact information.
you're actually giving up your friend's personal information.
Yeah, for your convenience and whatever
So like
else.
everybody in your contact list, now Snap has their email address, their phone number, their home address, God knows what.
The profile photo that you had loaded for them.
Yeah. So it's
kind of crazy.
So this is a problem to me.
Yeah.
Apple's going to do something about it, which is kind of limit what these apps can access.
Yeah, don't worry. Android's completely open. So if you want to, take everybody's contact list, go over to Android.
You just do it. You don't even think about it, right?
Yeah. No, you don't, and that's the problem. And I guess the bigger problem also for Apple in this regard is that they're doing this now. But I mean, you can't undo, you can't put the genie back in the bottle of all the times that this has happened in the past. It's just now going forward. But they kind of have to do this, right? Like it's such a renewed attention and energy on this after Cambridge Analytica. Like what happens to your data after you say it's okay to do something with it? Can that company be trusted? And Apple's trying to kind of clean up a little bit.
I think we know the answer.
Yeah, it
can't be trusted.
It's completely impossible at this point.
So much money in it.
We're screwed.
And Apple, by the way, this is totally peripheral, has signed Oprah to a multi-year deal to do content for Apple TV.
Yay!
Finally, Elon Musk has a big deal with the city of Chicago.
He's so boring.
I don't get how this is going to work. He has signed this is the first official contract with the boring company.
Yeah.
To bore a hole underneath Chicago so you can get to the airport faster.
All right.
Can you do that?
Apparently. I mean, if you're Elon Musk, you certainly think that you can. Let's just hope he doesn't go bankrupt all the time.
They've been chosen to build a transportation alternative, a zippy ride. So if the video is to be believed, you'll pull up in your car to a special parking place on the this is very Batman, on the city streets. Push a button or something, and an elevator, you will disappear into the ground.
All right.
An elevator will take you down to the hole, put you on a special thing, a trailer, and you'll go like at 100 miles an hour or 300 miles an hour to the airport. Or if you're walking, you'll get in a bus, push a button, the bus goes down in the elevator, and off to the airport.
Elon's future is so strange. But I love that there are people like Elon that have the money and the intellect and the smarts to think they can actually pull this stuff off, because then it doesn't seem like complete science fiction, just mostly science fiction.
They say they're going to begin construction in 3 to 4 months.
All right, then.
I will make a trip to Chicago just to do this.
We need to review this boring tunnel on the screensavers.
He also says He's working on getting you pre-cleared through security. So basically, you'll get in the tunnel, it'll shoot you into the airplane, and you'll be on your way. Actually, that is the big problem with air travel.
Yeah.
The flight's great, but getting there, waiting at the airport, waiting for the delays, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
All right,
go Elon.
E3 was on this week. Really should be a big story. If you're a gamer, it was a big story. It was in L.A.
Sure.
Engadget senior editor Jessica Conditt was there. Hello, Jessica.
Hello.
Did you have fun at E3 this year?
Fun is an interesting way to put it. It was a busy week, though.
Yeah, I
sure.
bet.
Yeah,
we saw all the articles you filed. The way E3, it's funny because Gina Smith, who was the editor-in-chief of Electronic Entertainment Magazine, started E3, Electronic Entertainment Expo, many years ago. And there was a lot more hardware in those days. It was a very different show. These days, it's really trailers for games, isn't it?
Well, especially recently, because after last year, the show is now open to the public. So it's very much more fan-focused than it is industry-focused now, for sure.
Yeah. So there are the press conferences. Can the public go to the press conference?
Yeah, there are definitely ways to get in. They have some fan passes, and they have, some other ways fans can show up.
Not too hard.
No.
Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, all the big game console manufacturers had their press conferences. Let's go through them one by one. What did Microsoft announce?
Microsoft announced a ton of games. So that was their focus this year. The Xbox really needs games. That's the big thing. So Microsoft delivered. They had 50 titles they showed off, and a bunch of them were, world exclusives or world premieres or console exclusives. And it was a pretty cool show. And one of the big things that Microsoft actually showed off was it just bought a bunch of new studios. So it bought Undead Labs, the maker of State of Decay, Playground Games, the maker of Forza Horizon, Ninja Theory, they did DMC and Hellblade, and Compulsion Games, they did We Happy Few. And then they created a new studio with the dude who was running the new Tomb Raider reboot. That thing's called The Initiative.
So I kind of like this because a lot of great games come out of these studios. Would they be qualified as indies?
Well, not
anymore.
really anymore.
Yeah, definitely not now.
But I presume you get the indie mindset and the creativity and the kind of spirit of an indie studio by joining this.
Not yet another sequel.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. Yeah, so these are hopefully new IPs that Microsoft can play with in the future.
Well, Forza Horizon 3 is not something to get too excited about, but okay.
Did Microsoft have any news or information about an upcoming Xbox, whatever their next console is, and how they're setting kind of a path towards that?
Absolutely. So Microsoft actually just came out and said, yeah, we're working on a new console. Of course we are. Why deny it, basically? And they set up the new studios are definitely a play for the next generation, showing players that they're focusing on content in this way. And then they're also setting up a game streaming service that will basically, they say, put console level games on any device like a mobile phone. We've been promised that for a few years, so we'll see. Yeah,
we've also seen companies try and fail, like On Live.
Yeah.
But Sony's doing that too. Sony said, anything that can play Netflix can play our games.
Right, when it bought Gaikai, that was a live streaming service, right? And that was a while ago, but again, PlayStation now hasn't quite lived up to its promises either. So there's some room for improvement on any side in live streaming, yeah.
It's an interesting idea. I mean, right now, if you're a serious gamer, you don't mind buying a console, or better yet, a gaming PC, because that's the best way to play. But I guess if you could bring these to cheap devices, it might expand the audience.
Absolutely.
The mobile market is huge. So yeah, everyone has a smartphone.
Right.
Why not try to tap into that market? Yeah.
What did Nintendo talk about?
A ton of Smash Brothers, and that's about it.
I'm excited about Smash Brothers. Although I've heard that now they've also got Fortnite now on the Nintendo Switch. I hear it's not very good on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, so Fortnite on Switch, I mean, from what I've heard, I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet. I just got back from LA. But I've heard it's actually pretty good.
Really? I heard
it
frame rate
well.
wasn't great, but maybe that's not something to worry about too much.
Well, if you're gonna go pro with a game like Fortnite, frame rate is very important.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. But I know some Sony people, like some PlayStation players, they were having trouble accessing their accounts on the Switch.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's something Sony has to work on, is this cross-console compatibility. They're losing some favor there, for sure.
Are you a Fortniter?
I'm not actually. I've tried. This is like my first. Am I getting too old for this?
You look more like an Overwatch player than a Fortnite.
I totally am. Yeah. I have an Overwatch license plate, so. Yeah.
Oh boy, did I nail that one!
You totally got that one.
What does your license plate say?
It says nerf this. It's Divas Ultimate. Yeah.
Okay, now we know where to look for Jessica.
Nice.
We won't say where you live, okay?
Right.
Just so you get some privacy. How about Sony? What did Sony have to announce?
Okay, so Sony switched it up a little bit this year. Oh no, what was that? Yeah, Sony changed it a little bit this year. They had, instead of like doing a traditional press conference where they had a bunch of executives come out on stage and talk about their plans for the future, they just showed off a bunch of new game footage for some pretty high profile titles. Started with The Last of Us 2, so we got some new footage there.
I really liked The Last of Us. That was a great game, I thought.
It was. It was, I mean, powerful and emotional, but also terrifying and great gameplay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the new one stars Ellie, and she's on her own kind of just battling through this new world, post-apocalyptic style. Yeah.
Fun. That
looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima is another one that looks really, really pretty, and we got new footage there. And also Death Stranding, that's the new Kojima game. And we got a ton of new footage. It looks, I mean, just absolutely gorgeous.
What are you excited about?
Oh, my. There's a ton. But honestly, the coolest thing I saw was probably Cyberpunk 2077. So this is a game from CD Projekt Red, the creators of the Witcher series.
Oh, I love Witcher. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is like, they know what they're doing. They know how to make beautiful, huge open world games. But this one, instead of being fantasy, is sci-fi. It's based off a pen and paper RPG called Cyberpunk 2020.
By the way, this is actual game footage. This is not a cutscene. Wow.
So so they showed off, oh my gosh, they showed off a ton of new gameplay. And I saw like an hour-long demo of this thing. It was live gameplay. It was awesome. It was gorgeous. The story looks rich, and it's in first person, which is new for the studio. It's kind of cool.
Huh. I'm very interested because I'd love to live in a cyberpunk world. I mean, this looks fun.
Yeah.
Is it what kind of gaming is it? Is it a shooter? It looks like there's some fighting.
So it's a first person RPG. It's kind of blending the first person shooter style with like the big story customization driven thing that CD Projekt Red does with The Witcher.
Nice.
It's going to be a long, deep game. Yeah.
Wow. So if you don't mind, real quick, this show is very today. We've got a lot of stuff on VR and AR and everything. And watching the footage here, like, just makes me kind of jump to that point of like this would be really immersive if it was in VR, which makes me realize it doesn't sound like there was a whole lot of VR announcements from the show. Was there a lot in that regard, or was it a little bit more traditional?
Definitely more traditional. We saw a little bit of VR. I think Bethesda had a few like Wolfenstein and Prey experiences. But yeah, VR is not really catching fire right now.
I think
it's kind of slowed down.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, the Oculus Rift has been out for a while. The Vive's been out. Both have been out for more than a year.
Right.
If you were going to see VR games, this would be the E3 to at least preview these.
Yeah.
And Sony is the console maker with a VR machine.
Right.
They're the only one. And they said nothing. So, I mean, it's just not really on the radar. Yeah.
Well, that sounds to me like they're not selling a lot of them.
Yeah, right.
I'm a Fallout fan. Fallout 76 sounded cool. Tell me about that.
Okay, so this one is a totally new experience for the series. Fallout 76 is going to be online like all the time. You can play solo, but the way that developers really want you to play it is online with other people, where like all the characters you run into are actually other people. It's not quite Battle Royale. We expected every game to be Battle Royale this year, just like Fortnite. Yeah. But it is a push toward a connected experience.
Were there a lot of Battle Royale games?
You know, not as many as we thought. There were definitely a few. Call of Duty talked about it.
Right.
But it wasn't the Battle Royale fest that we thought it would be.
That may be also because it takes a long time to develop a game. You can't just say, oh, Fortnite's big, quick, get something out.
5 months later.
Exactly, yeah.
Although, I think Fortnite looked at PlayerUnknown's Battleground and said, quick, get a Battle Royale version. But they had a great engine to do it, I guess.
They did, and honestly, it's so funny because Fortnite, I mean, before they added Battle Royale, it really wasn't making much of an impact at all. And Battle Royale mode, I mean, it saved that game. Absolutely.
Wow. And I feel bad for PlayerUnknown because bye-bye. I mean, they got completely eclipsed. Speaking of Bethesda, they have put Elder Scrolls is coming out on or is it out on iOS?
I believe it's out already, actually, on mobile devices. If not, it's going to come out soon. But I gave it a spin, and I didn't really like it.
I saw that. I was so bummed. I love Skyrim. I'm a big Elder Scrolls fan.
And honestly, if you're a fan of the series, it's fine. It's a fine game to play, especially just on the go in little bursts. But it wasn't anything innovative. The graphics were, okay. The worlds were not really detailed, and the combat was just a bunch of tapping, really.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. It's hard to move these games to a touch device and have them really be playable.
Totally. Yeah. And this is just something that Bethesda is trying to get out there to get more people just invested in the brand in general. Right. It's not going to be a big new push for them, I don't think.
Right. Jessica, it's great to talk to you. What character do you play on Overwatch?
Oh, a lot of Diva and Orisa and Moira. My ladies.
Orisa and Moira. What can I say? You don't play any guys.
I'll do a Soldier 76 every now and then.
Jessica Conditt is a senior editor at Engadget, writes about all sorts of stuff at Engadget.com, but check out her coverage of E3. It was excellent. That's basically how I followed E3, is by reading your stuff, so I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Nerf this! Take care, Jessica.
Take care, Jessica.
Plate says nerf this. I hope she drives a DeLorean. That's all I can say. All right. She does. That is so awesome. All right, are you ready for some?
Let's do it. Let's start our.
This is VR. Let's talk AR.
Yeah, let's go AR before VR. Yeah.
AR, VR.
Sounds great.
Joining us right now, the CEO of a brand new AR company, DreamGlass. Kevin Zhong is here. Hi, Kevin. It's great to meet you.
Hello, Leo.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Jason.
AR is exciting, more exciting to me than VR. You just heard Jessica say there wasn't a lot of VR gaming.
It didn't take long, eh?
So tell me about AR versus VR and why you think AR is important.
Yeah, so VR actually is like virtual reality, so it's immersive. So you get into like a whole new world, surroundings, you do all kinds of cool stuff. But AR is like you still have awareness of the surroundings. You have some use case, application things. So you can use the information from digital information and then to help you do stuff. So it's not just like entertainment for games or movie, but you can do a lot of like productivity related stuff.
Right. Yeah. So this is it, and you anticipate charging how much for this?
It's $399 US.
Is it available now?
Yes, you can buy it online.
I'm buying it. All right. So I'm going to make Jason wear this.
All right, I will wear it.
He's going to have all the marks on the forehead.
That's all right.
Today.
That's right. This is one of 3 headsets I'll be wearing today.
So $399.
Oh, look at that.
It actually it doesn't look horribly geeky.
I mean, you put anything on your face, right? It's going to be something. Putting a piece of technology on your face.
Here's the thing that's interesting. This is going to work not with the computer, but with your smartphone.
Absolutely. Right.
That's a big difference.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, I love the field of view. I feel is very wide. Like it covers a lot of the space that you're looking. You don't
Always
feel like
the knock
you're looking
on the
through
HoloLens.
a tiny little window, right? With the HoloLens.
And it's very sharp too. You can
it's
read the
super
text.
sharp.
Right.
What's the resolution?
Actually, 2.5K.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks
so better than HD.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So like Jessica mentioned before, like there are not so many VR contents, but AR contents actually is even fewer.
Yes.
So
because it's new. There's a skull.
I didn't know you were there.
Right.
Don't sneak up on me like that, Skull.
This is an educational program we're looking at. And we should mention that in order to play this back on TV, we have to use the programs that are not as interactive. We have to use kind of the 2D programs, but there will be ways to interact with this stuff to walk around.
Absolutely. You can use hand gestures. You can use the phone to control, and you can use other controls.
Okay. So when you're doing hand gestures, how is that being tracked? Like
actually, so you can see there are a couple of sensors on the front, the IR cameras, which actually will sense your gestures and give controls.
And like, to what degree of articulation can it?
Actually, you can just you can click and you can rotate it.
Okay.
You can swipe and do like
that Minority Report stuff.
Yeah, very nice.
See, what I like about that is, unlike the Oculus or the Lenovo's, where you have a physical thing that you have to pick up, This way you don't, you just use your hands.
Yeah, right. It's about that would be about as intuitive as it gets, right? Like if we're modeling virtual objects in a real world, we want to interact with them in a way that we interact with objects in the real world.
Do you have apps
reach out and grab it
today that you can reach out and grab
Yes,
stuff?
yes.
Okay, so it's just the limitation of what we're doing here.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
So actually, like think about like the hands-free is very important, right? If you do things, you have something, a screen or a 3D model here, but you can still do stuff. For example, you can fix your car and you have a video right here.
That's one of the really cool applications for this is a repair manual or a training manual where you can see what you're doing.
You can open it up and then show.
You blew open the skull.
Pretty awesome.
Let's show you something more.
Oh, yeah.
So,
right.
what does it take to develop content for this particular for the DreamWorld?
So actually, our SDK is very easy to use. It's based on Unity.
Oh, it's Unity.
And so you can just load the Unity asset store, and then you can just.
There are a lot of Unity developers out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, a lot of VR stuff is done in Unity as well as AR stuff.
That's another thing. Just like because our field of view is 90 degrees, it's very close to what a VR headset is. So it means a lot of the assets or programs already built in VR. It will work. Yeah, it will work. Well, just need to change a little bit, like the minor tweaking. It will work on this.
Oh, that's interesting. I actually, I much prefer AR to VR. I don't get queasy.
Right.
You don't get nauseous, right?
Absolutely, you don't get that.
Because you're seeing the real world, so you're not. And it's also, I always worry with VR that somebody's going to sneak up behind me. I don't know, maybe that's just me.
Or run into the wall or whatever.
Well, that's it. You're very isolated from the world in VR, but AR, you're part of the world.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is, right? Like I'm talking to like a children's hospital before, and they're using like a VR headsets to help children to get through those small procedures.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So that the child is wearing this during the procedure?
Yeah, actually they're wearing like a VR goggles before, and then they're doing like this to get it distracted from the pain and stuff, right? But it didn't work so well because it's so like it's isolated. Like kids feel like scared. They want to see the parents, they want to see the doctor, have some assurance, feel safety. So this will work probably better.
We should mention that you're using this with Windows. It does work with Windows as well as Android. So
absolutely.
And iOS is coming down the road.
It's coming down the road. Yeah. So another thing, like just I mentioned, there are not so many VR contents. Even fewer AR content. I think the big problem is like all the AR headsets are so expensive, right? It's a lot of indie.
So once we get less expensive ones, not HoloLens, which is $1,500 or $2,500, but something less expensive, there'll be more content.
Yeah, there'll be more content, and this only in this way this ecosystem can start building, the ball rolling, and in the maybe near future.
We got to jumpstart.
We can do this.
Yeah.
How does this work in tandem with the phone? You mentioned that you can kind of connect a phone into the setup. So what is the phone doing in that regard?
So I finished with this. I can just show you how to connect with this.
Absolutely. I can just take it off, Jason.
All right.
Take it all off. So when it's connected to the PC, it has 2 USB and an HDMI. The video comes through the HDMI and the USB. It takes a lot of power, so some of the USB is power.
So you can see, this is for our PC connectors.
Yeah.
Have
2 USB.
one HDMI, 2 USBs. This one is not necessary. Actually, it's for old computers.
Oh, because they don't have enough juice coming through.
Yeah. Actually, we only use 2 usually.
Okay.
So you can see the cable here.
How many watts do you need?
Actually, this is only like 4 watts.
Oh, all right.
So you can see this goes separated.
And that's a Type C connector.
And boom. Yeah.
And then we have like this hub, which connect from here.
So this is a battery. Because it draws so much power, you want to have a battery so it doesn't dry your phone.
So this I connect to the phone.
Got it.
So this actually goes to your bell and something.
Oh, nice.
And then you're mobile.
Oh, you're totally mobile.
We are totally mobile. So you can do other things.
I want to buy this. So does this for the $400 you get the
this thing is separate.
Separate, okay.
But it's very affordable too.
Okay.
So only in this way actually it's mobile, and then it can be affordable.
I think mobile's critical.
Yeah,
I totally think it's
everything should go mobile.
Yeah.
Got it.
Right. So
I want to walk around wearing this thing.
Right. For example, like Pokemon Go, actually you can walk around and see this and then just catch it.
So are you also doing head tracking?
Yes,
you must be, because he turned his head.
Yeah, absolutely. You do head tracking.
How many axes?
It's 3 axes, but right now we are working with some partners to give like the 6 axes. You can do like in and out too.
And in that regard, are you doing that with external cameras, or would it be inside out?
Actually, we're working with 2 sets of partners. Some of these inside out.
Yeah.
So actually, we have cameras who can tracking just like the other people doing. You can track the environment.
Sure.
And also for some of the industrial, very professional user cases, we're using outside in, which is more stable. For example, like surgery room, right? Actually, they're using like those cameras to track these surgeons doing things. So that all, because we're doing this this is like a base version. So it's $399, which you can get like a really good AR experience out of this.
Yeah,
and you can develop for it.
Good, yeah.
And then if you are really shooting for some professional use case, you can follow some more, and then you can do like a more like a professional setup. You can do like a maybe things.
So this is a developer kit, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see clearly, but there's 2 LCD screens. These are 2.5K LCD screens.
Yeah, together.
Together, and they're throwing basically a heads-up display on these reflective surface.
Yeah. And then there are sensors inside, which go into hand tracking and also environment tracking.
Okay.
Also shooting cameras, like shooting photos like around you.
But when I'm looking at the real world, I'm not looking at a picture of the real world. I'm looking at the actual real world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you can just
That's kind of on
superimpose
top.
different digital information on top of the real world. Help you do
So the
stuff.
real world's full. It's 100% resolution. It's
Right.
perfect resolution. It's 2.5K for the images that are superimposed.
Sure.
That's
Yeah, it
really
looks really
interesting.
nice. It's really
Yeah.
convincing. Yeah.
And you're interested in getting developers to work with you, I'm sure. So you have an SDK. This is shipping at the end of the month for $399 developer kit.
So another thing that we are really shipping. So we have those headsets in the warehouse already. We just need to figure out logistics.
Oh, nice. All right.
We can ship this by the end of the June.
DreamWorldVision.com.
So
This
people-
is the jump starting that we need to get
So
this thing off.
people don't need to wait a year for it. to get
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'm excited. And it's a lot less than a HoloLens.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hey, it's really
absolutely.
nice to meet you, Kevin. Thank you. I'm
Nice
very
to meet you.
excited.
Yeah.
DreamWorldVision.com if you want to get your developer kit. And or even just to play with it. I mean, so does it come with some software, or where do we get the software? Is there a store?
Actually, there is like a software from our website too, and then we'll have a store in the future.
There'll be a store.
Yeah.
Good. Nice. Isn't that cool?
Good stuff.
One
I love
more
it.
visor to wear,
I
Jason.
know, geez, my face. Thankfully, it's very lightweight
It's very
and comfortable,
lightweight.
you know?
It's
So
very
It is actually, it's not heavy at all. Yeah.
no, it's not. You put it on, it kind of blends in.
What's coming up?
All right, so I'm actually going to kind of go further down this road. We're going to take a review of the Oculus Go and see how it compares with some of the competition out there. But first, Megan Morrone has a review of a couple of smart home devices from Monoprice.
From 3D printers to cables of all shapes and sizes, Monoprice is a pretty decent, relatively cheap maker of the tech things we all want. When I heard that they were getting into the smart home market, I knew I had to try a few of the products. So they sent us the Monoprice Smart Plug and the Monoprice Smart Bulb. Here's what I thought. The Monoprice Wi-Fi Smart Plug lets you control a lamp or another small appliance from your iPhone or your Android phone or tablet. It works over Wi-Fi, so you don't need a smart home hub. The plug also works with your Amazon Echo, your Google Home, and your IFT, or if this then that. You can schedule it to turn on and off at certain times, and it will report electric usage stats. The plug supports up to 15 amps or 1,800 watts of power at 120 volts AC and 60 hertz. Good enough for the small stuff, but don't go plugging your washing machine into it or anything. To start using the smart plug, shoot your camera at the QR code to easily download the Simple Home Connect app from the iOS or Google App Store. Register for your Simple Home account with your mobile number and then plug your device into an outlet. Confirm that the light is blinking rapidly, then follow the directions to add your device. Note that this will involve your Wi-Fi password. After you've added your device, the light on the smart plug will turn pink. Plug a light or another small appliance into the outlet, and then you can control it with your phone. Set schedules for turning the appliance on or off, and put it on a timer if you want. If you want the schedule to occur more than once, tap repeat. You can have a different schedule for every day of the week. It will also track and monitor your energy use. Pretty basic, but it works. And as I believe I mentioned earlier, it is cheap, only $15.99. And for another $15.99, you can also throw in a Monoprice Smart Bulb. This is about the same price that you'd pay for a single white hue light, but this bulb doesn't require a hub. It offers the same controls as the smart plug. Either turn it off or on with your phone, your Amazon Echo, or your Google Home, or control it with IFT, if this then that. You can also schedule it to turn off and on at certain times on a schedule or a timer. This light consumes 7 watts and produces the equivalent to a 50-watt incandescent bulb. When I set this up at home, it was pretty straightforward and easy. I got it set it up like that. But then when I tried to reset it up here in the Twit studios, it was very difficult and it took a long time and it just wouldn't connect. You know, you've been there. Finally, after we had 4 or 5 very smart technical people in here helping, we realized that it wouldn't set up because we had a dash in the name of our Wi-Fi network. When we looked through all the help files, it said letters only, no numbers, no spaces, no special characters. So who has numbers or characters in their Wi-Fi network name? Not everybody, but what I thought was this was maybe emblematic of the fact that they didn't take all the care they need to make these devices super easy for anyone to set up. Also, you should note that like most IoT devices, it only works on a 2.4 gigahertz network. I am Megan Morrone, and I host iOS Today and Tech News Weekly with Leo Laporte and Jason Howell. Plus, starting July 5th, I'll be hosting a 12-week season of Know-How with Florence Ion, all about the Internet of Things.
Woohoo! So
Go Megan. Go Megan. Sorry.
You worked with her on that, Anthony, setting that up? So the dash was the problem. That's hysterical that it doesn't support...
no special characters.
That's so funny.
Yeah, you can't do a space or numbers or anything.
And of course, we'll watch with interest to see if it gets updated, because I don't like to put... nowadays, my thing, and I have to say this is going to be a blanket recommendation, if something goes on the internet, it needs to be firmware upgradable push, right? That the company, if they find a problem, can push it out. I don't want to have to go through and say, are you updated light bulb? Are you updated light bulb? That is a pain in the butt.
No, thank you.
So we'll check into that, but I would not recommend anything that doesn't do that.
Yep.
It's kind of the base level.
Absolutely.
All right, this is different. This doesn't go online. This is just for fun.
You never go online with the Oculus Go.
All right, now I got to say, I have an Oculus Rift. I have an HTC Vive. I have the Gear VR from Samsung.
Yeah.
I have the Google Daydream. I haven't put one of these on in a long, long time.
Yeah. Well, we were talking earlier with Jessica, in fact, you know, that VR just kind of losing a little bit of its steam.
And yet I put this on and I thought, well, this is every bit as good as an Oculus Rift. It feels like it.
I mean, it's not quite to Oculus Rift territory. There's some kind of, I don't know, elements that are more likened to smartphone VR. I mean, that's really what it is.
Okay, so what am I giving up? You get the controller. Right. This is
you get the controller. Okay, the price, $199 to start for 32 gigs of internal storage.
Very affordable. You don't need a phone.
Right. That's, I think, the big benefit here is that it's standalone, similar to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the Lenovo Mirage Solo. We'll talk about the comparison in a moment. But I mean, it's super lightweight. You just keep it charged up. It's actually the manufacturing partner was Xiaomi. So Xiaomi does a pretty good design, and they made a really nice, light, easy to use VR goggle, by Oculus. Now we're seeing a live stream that's coming from your device that's casting to my Facebook page.
Really?
Is
that a good idea?
It's probably about 10 or 15 seconds lagged. So so you can use the interface and everything and check it out.
So what can I do while we're live streaming?
Well, you can go into the library and check out some of the games.
I can actually play games?
You can actually play games, and that'll stream. It's super easy to stream to Facebook. So if you want to stream, all of your Oculus Go stuff on Facebook.
What should I do? What do you like?
Very easy to do. Well, let's see here. Okay, so now we can kind of see it a little bit.
Should I play Shooting Showdown 2?
Sure. That's what you were playing earlier.
I was playing that earlier.
You might as well go for that.
I'm really good at that.
So, okay, so what do you get here? 2560 by 1440, 5.5-inch display on the inside. It's an LCD. It's a fast-switching LCD, which is similar, well, it's actually the same as the Lenovo Mirage Solo. A lot of these headsets are using OLED, and that's because they're a little bit faster display technology. 3, but Oculus says the LCD fast switching you don't notice. It is running Android 7.1.2 Nougat. That does not mean that it's Daydream compatible. It's its own thing. So it's running on Android, but it's not the same thing as Daydream.
This is interesting. I'm actually going to play another person in real world here.
Excellent.
Okay. So
yes, there's a lot of social functionality here.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Of the things that you give up, this has a quad-core Snapdragon 821, so 2-year-old processor inside. So really what you're getting, I love this game.
What am I doing?
It's table tennis. So, you know, play ping pong.
Play ping pong.
This is your video.
I know. I like it better that Jason's playing table tennis than me getting shot by this guy.
Oh, never mind. Oh, I see. So you're on a different game.
Let me play table tennis. That sounds like fun.
Go there. It's a lot more intuitive. Okay. So you have basically an old mobile phone, smartphone processor inside there. So that's one thing that you give up compared to the Oculus Rift. It's not a high-power computer.
It doesn't feel slow, though. I mean,
no, it's fine. It's just a couple of years outdated. So, you know, at some point that's going to, you know, affect the experience and performance. Micro USB port for charging, so it's not the, you know, USB-C, unfortunately, but it does have integrated speakers, and that's one of my favorite things about this is that the speakers sound really great. Boy. They're positioned right.
On a roller coaster ride.
We're seeing different content. That's okay. It's obviously very immersive. But you have those speakers there, and I think the goal and the point of this device and why it's a success in my mind is that
that's terrible. Oh God.
Is that Oculus has set this up to be a pick up and go experience.
It did. I picked it up and I'm really going.
Right. Anything where you have to put your smartphone in, yes, you could do it. Yes, it's less expensive, but it's one extra layer of difficulty that most people aren't going to go through.
Is the lack of motion tracking a big deal? I mean, I don't feel like on a lot of these you move around that much.
I feel after using the Lenovo Mirage Solo that does have World Sense tracking in it, I want it here, and I'm sad that it's not there. However, it's $200 versus $400. So it's way more accessible for the general consumer.
Right.
And I think that's really what they're going after here. They want the general consumer to have a system that's no muss, no fuss, pick it up and go, and that's going to drop it into the price category. And you know they're going to come out with one that has inside-out tracking at some point that's on their roadmap.
But it won't be this one.
It won't be this one, and you're going to be paying more for it, guaranteed.
I feel like this is really for somebody who says, well, what is this all about? And is curious about VR, but doesn't want to really go out and buy an expensive VR device. You get a good this is a pretty complete experience of the basics of VR, right?
Absolutely. Oculus has done a great job of touching the points. One thing it really reminds me of, because Samsung has their Gear VR, and that's in part, you know, the hardware was created with Oculus support. I feel like what this is it's a Gear VR, but made by Oculus without the need for a smartphone. Oculus has done a really good job, or is working on working with Samsung developers, people who have created for the Gear VR, to port their titles over to Oculus. Oculus is also, you know, has a great track record on scoring exclusives, so you're going to get some really great games and experiences that way. They've tailored it really well. They've also got a feature in there called Oculus Rooms, where you can, you know, connect with other Oculus users, maybe people on Gear VR, start a party, play shared content games with other people, create an avatar, just kind of a more social experience. We'll definitely be talking about that here in a few minutes to greater degree. But
this, I don't know if this is stuck or just, it just takes a long time to load sometimes,
It does, and I wonder if that kind of has something to do with the, you know, couple-of-year-old CPU.
So this is the table tennis game, I guess.
Yeah, and it plays exactly like you think. Like, you know, I am a professional table tennis player in my dreams, and, you know, I do like my spin moves, and
it crashed.
Sure enough, it works. Oh, it crashed on you?
I think so, yeah. It's I don't know. I pushed a button. And
okay, do you know how to exit completely out?
No, I mean, I'm back in the, it crashed out to the library.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Played a bunch of games. Catan. Is it Catan or Catan?
I say Catan. Okay. You say Catan. It doesn't really matter.
I don't even know.
But that's a board game. How does that work?
It's really cool because it is a board game, but it's a board game virtualized, and you've got 3 other players surrounding the board, and it's just a really
Are you playing with real people or?
I did not play with real people. You can.
You could.
But it's just a really great way to play a board game. I don't know. It worked really well for me.
The Facebook streaming is probably causing problems with the table.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be
because
it's
at once.
Although it should, if it's a feature and that's what they want you to do, it should be capable of doing that.
I'll tell you, Settlers of Catan, the problem with it is the setup takes forever. So having this all set up in virtual reality might be more fun.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun playing that game. So strengths, I would say obviously portability. It's super light, it's compact. Those speakers on board really kind of reduce the need for things like headphones and setup and all that stuff. Easy to pick up and go. Obviously Oculus has a great store. They've got a lot of really great titles in there. Plenty of free content and experiences. And then the price for what you get, $199 for standalone VR to start.
That's really good.
$249 if you want twice as much internal storage, which you might actually want with this.
I love it that it has the sound built in.
Yeah. I know, like you kind of have to remind yourself when you're using it, if you got the volume up at just the right spot, that you're not wearing headphones because you might be annoying everybody else. Yeah. Weaknesses, I would say the experience, like I said, is on par with Samsung Gear VR, so you're not getting like high-level advanced VR here.
It doesn't seem that much
doesn't
different.
need to be.
And I didn't get nauseous. The frame rate was sufficient that it didn't make me queasy.
Yep.
I think this is a great thing for somebody who wants to try VR. What are the negatives?
Yeah. No positional tracking, of course.
Again, you're not going to walk off the face of the earth, right? It's just going to, so I don't.
But now that I've had that experience, it's hard. I want it. I want it all the time. Yeah. Even for just like slight, angle shifts to see around that light or whatever the case would be. The controller itself is not rechargeable. This is a AA battery on the inside, which isn't a total negative, but it's kind of nice to be able to just plug it in and forget about it instead of finding a battery. And like I said, the processor is already 2 years older. So maybe that's
how they get the price down.
That's true. They got to hit that price point.
Yeah, an 821. But this is rechargeable. The headset itself is.
Absolutely.
So you keep that plugged in. This probably goes a long time.
3 hours to charge it up from. Because it's just straight.
And how long can you play for?
2.5, 3, right around there.
Okay, so 3 hours to charge, but 2 hours to play.
You could keep it plugged in, and I did that at times because I forgot to charge it and just keep it plugged in. But you got to have a longer cable.
Oh, I see. While you're playing it,
yeah, while you're playing it. But overall, I think this is kind of one of the more consumer-friendly VR devices right now.
It's better than I thought it would be. To be honest, at that price.
That's nice.
If I honestly, before you were to buy a VR, an Oculus Rift or a Vive, which is a lot of money plus a fancy PC, get this and see if it's in, because this is enough of an experience you'd know, do I like this?
Yeah,
And I think it's better than Gear VR or Daydream, don't you?
Yes, I would actually say, I totally agree. Like, I love that it's just one single unit, plug it in. Like, I could see bringing this and having my kids get in on this. Like, I brought them in on the Daydream VR experience. There's just enough kind of fiddly setup there to make it complicated to bring a really young kid in and show it to them. This, you really just pick it up and go. And so it's really nice. That's probably why they call it Oculus Go.
It's a good, really good gift too, I think. Yeah. Of the Lenovo and Oculus, given if they were the same price, I understand this is twice as much. You'd prefer the Lenovo.
No, I don't think it's as cut and dry as that. Like I prefer the fact that this has tracking on it. But the software library, the ease of use, the comfort, this Lenovo Mirage Solo is so much chunkier and heavier, and over time really kind of got sore.
So save the money, get the Oculus.
Sure, check it out.
You're not the first person I've heard say that, actually. I think people like it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jason Howell.
Absolutely.
I might have to get one of these. That's pretty cool. Now it's time for a call for help. And on the line with us, the host of My Tech Opinion, his brand new podcast, Shane. We've met him before from Perth. He's back home in Perth. Hello, Shane.
Hi, Leo. Hi, Jason. How are you?
Great. Great to talk to you. He looks like he's a podcaster. He's ready to go. He's got his
Let's podcast.
Let's podcast. So what can we do for you, Shane?
It's probably an ideal show for me to be on because my question is all around virtual reality. I work for a not-for-profit who look after people with intellectual disabilities, and one of the programs we used to offer was to take them on holidays and day trips. But because of funding cuts, that had to be dropped. So I was wondering whether VR would be a good replacement for that particular program.
Well, given that you can't afford to take them anywhere, it's better than that. It's better than nothing.
Right.
What do you think?
I mean, I think it's worth exploring. I think that the challenge there obviously would be finding a system that makes sense from a monetary perspective. You know, how are they going to jump into VR? Do you have enough headsets for them to have a shared experience? Or maybe, you know, maybe the funding lies on them more than it does you. But I think this is the perfect episode for that, because the Oculus Go is relatively inexpensive when you compare all the other alternatives. Gear VR is going to run you like $100 for the headset, but you still need a phone to put in there, and that's going to cost you money. The Oculus Go, that's $200, and you know that's it. You're in. And then what do you get outside of that, or inside the Oculus Go, that kind of qualifies for what you're talking about? And there's a lot of social functionality kind of that I was alluding to earlier tied into the Go. There's the Oculus Rooms, which is functionality built into the OS itself, or the kind of experience itself. It's a social layer to where, you know, anyone can create their own avatar. They can set up their house, their space any way that they like. So you can kind of decorate it and move things around and have a game playing space here. So you can, you know, meet up with someone in this virtual space and have this shared experience, or sit down on the couch and have a talk. You can really kind of get loose and customize it, and you know, go in any direction that you like. The challenge there is that Rooms is not available on the Oculus Rift. I don't know if that would pose an issue, but it's not there. There, it's Facebook Spaces instead, and there's no like crossover yet, which seems kind of strange to me. Hopefully they would open it up, because I would imagine for social layers, you want everyone involved.
Although I have to say, for a budget-constrained nonprofit, something like this $200 Oculus Go seems like it would be a great thing to do.
That's what I would. That's what I would think.
You know, there's certainly been a lot of work. In fact, maybe even more work with people with disabilities and VR than anywhere else. I've heard of VR being used to work with people, for instance, with autism, because it can help prepare them for a situation they might be in the future, and kind of get them ready for it. People with Asperger's have been known to use it to kind of help them get ready for social cues, understand social cues better. And I think for traveling around, now, were there travel experiences in here? Do you remember?
There are, not from a sharing perspective, like not like we're standing in front of, we're both at the Grand Canyon, and here we are. You know, I know that you can check out experiences like that. I don't know how shared those experiences are.
Was it sharing that you wanted to do mostly, Shane, or was it just to give people additional experiences?
Probably the primary thing would be give them an additional experience, but obviously if they could share that experience with either some of the other customers they would normally go on a holiday with. A lot of our customers have carers that look after them, so again, it'd be good if those carers could share the experience with them.
Right. Yeah. On the other hand, they're not going anywhere, so they don't need a caregiver to go with them.
Right.
In fact, true. I wonder in a way if this might be kind of a way to give them experience of independence.
Yes.
Right? They could have an experience. You know, I've done 360-degree videos, which would look great. This will play 360, right?
Yeah.
I've done 360 videos when we went to the Galapagos, of going out in a Zodiac boat and seeing the sights in the Galapagos. And if a person has mobility issues but can or is incapacitated in other ways, they wouldn't even need to go with a caregiver. They could have the experience of going themselves completely safely. Mm-hmm. Admittedly, it'd be much better if you could go out in the boat, but if you can't, that's the next, I think it's the next best thing. It certainly is better than just sitting in a chair looking out the window.
Yeah, and I mean, and so now I kind of understand the question just a little bit more. I kind of was honing in on the social element of that, you know, thinking that like if you're all going someplace, you would all want to go someplace as a group in here as well.
That's not going to work so well.
I mean, there are elements of that, but if you're widening out the net a little bit more to just be like, well, no, we just want to take them to a virtual experience and let them, you know, understand and see with their own eyes and senses what it's like to be at this monument or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. The Oculus Go definitely has experiences like that. And I mean, a lot of developers are offering these things every day. Like that's a huge selling point of what VR is all about.
VR
you
tourism.
Places. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great solution.
The nice thing is for $200, I mean, that's less than one trip out of the house.
Right, man, that's true.
You can have a lifetime of experiences here. I think it'd be very interesting. True. Yeah, Shane, I think it's a very intriguing idea. Can you get enough budget to get one of these for $200?
So the budget part of it's probably above my pay grade, and how we were looking at kind of packaging it. If we could package it as either an additional service that we offer, or as an extension to an existing service, that gives us a little bit more justification, I guess, to go to our funding bodies and say, look, can you give us X amount of dollars for this particular service that has this benefit? There's all these studies that have happened, and there's justification for it, that kind of thing. The only other question I had.
Let me send you to a website. This is for people in chairs, so it's people with mobility issues, but it might be of some help, at least in showing you showing the administrators what's possible. It's called Embrace the Life VR, EmbraceTheLifeVR.com. And their intention is to do it for wheelchair users. But I think that a lot of, learning disabled people would have other issues, of course. But I think the idea that this is being prepared for people who can't get around but could experience, life outside of their home would be, I think, of really a great value. I think actually you've hit on something that could be fantastic and really a lot less, not just less expensive, but maybe a lot safer than taking a group out and out and about. You got a lot more caregivers to do that. You got to really pay attention. This would be fairly safe for somebody to try. Yeah,
absolutely. The only other question I had, and you may have mentioned it in your review, but what's the battery life like on the Go?
Yeah, so the battery life, they say around 2.5, 3 hours, depending on what you're doing. If you're watching a movie, you might get a little bit more than that. If you're playing a high intensity, processor intensive game, you might get a little bit less than that. And I've totally found that to be appropriate. When I started getting low, I would kind of get in the habit of like plugging it in while I'm still using it, and that's a slower charge up because so much stuff is going on. But I could still keep it going at that point.
Shane, are you like their tech guy, or you're there, or what is your role there?
I work on the service desk, and it was just an idea I had because obviously I knew that the particular program was ending for the funding reasons, and I guess my background in technology and podcasting and just being an enthusiast in technology in general, it kind of just occurred to me, and we've actually gone down the road already where we started having conversations with Telstra, which is our main phone company here, who are also branch out into like a virtual reality kind of services. We've contacted, they've got partnerships with people like Samsung and so on and so forth. So the wheels have actually moved along since I first asked the question. Things are happening.
Good. I'm really glad to hear it. And when I look at the Oculus Go at $200, I really think that's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's the device.
At that price, that really could be enabling technology in so many different arenas. I think that's really great. Shane does a podcast.
I was going to say that device is definitely available in Australia.
That's a really great question, actually. I don't know that for sure.
It's 8,000 Australian dollars. That's the only negative. I hate what they do with the exchange rates. We're going to check for you right now and see. I bet it is. I see no reason why they shouldn't sell it worldwide. But
including shipping to Australia? Let me make sure that's... It costs $319 including shipping to Australia.
$319, $20 more. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
They could take advantage of the exchange rate much worse than that. That's really good. That's great. Yeah. Shane's podcast, My Tech Opinion. I want to give you a plug. You do this with Phil Edwards, and you talk about tech, and there it is for serious IT enthusiasts. It's great to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something where we're actually doing another show this afternoon. We're recording an episode on live streaming in the way of like broadcasting, going to a CDN, that kind of thing. Phil's background is in community radio, so
nice.
He does, obviously with his radio station, they live stream all their music. They cover football games, that kind of thing. So that's what we're going to be covering in today's episode.
Well, I think that the folks are very lucky to have you with help, and I think this would be a great project for you to espouse internally, because I think they would really get a lot out of it. Thank you, Shane. It's great to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you, Shane.
Take care.
All right, thanks, guys.
Hope that's helpful.
Next week, your co-host on All About Android, Florence Ion, will be here. She's also becoming an IoT guru. She'll be our co-host on the new IoT version of Know How. She'll be our guest. If you have a question, our guest host, if you have a question you want to ask Florence, here's how.
Need tech help? The new screensavers are here with answers. Email your tech questions to newscreensavers@twit.tv.
Father Robert has begun his trip far away. You did a great tweet storm about how you discovered Robert. You want to share that a little bit with us?
Yeah, I was feeling a little sentimental last night. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to write this and send it before I change my mind. But yeah, you know, Father Robert's a great guy, and we're all going to miss him around here a lot.
We're going to miss him terribly.
Basically, back on Tech News Today, we used to do like a yearly kind of interview the listeners of the show sort of thing at the very end of the year. And this is back in 2011, and his was one of 200 submissions that we got. He included a video that was hilarious. Total Father, because now you know Father Robert, but back then it was like, who's this guy named Father Robert? And then you watch it, and you have this vision of what a Father Robert would be, and then you see that he's, you know, he's throwing out swear words and. What's that?
There are swear words in it, but do you think I could
beeped
play
out?
it?
He beeped it out.
All
Absolutely.
right. So this is
so
the.
Let's see here. Yeah, that's it.
This was the submission that he sent you.
This was to be included on the interview episode.
On TNT. Let me turn up the volume.
Hello, TNT. My name is Father Robert Ballasar, and I would like to be a part of your call-in show. I've been a fan of Tech News Today since episode 1. In fact, even before episode 1, I followed most of your talent, not in that stalker way, from wherever they came from in the tech world, be it from Tech TV or CNET, G4, Hack 5, or Vision 3. I love you guys, but again, not in that stalker way. A few things about me. Yes, I am a priest.
One of your own has broken his sacred vow. You will find him dead or alive.
No, a real priest. No, an actual, honest-to-goodness, ordained Catholic priest. I was ordained about 5 years ago, and I've actually been a member of the Society of Jesus, or the Jesuits. It's a religious order of the Catholic Church since 1994. My order runs a lot of universities, high schools, colleges. It's sort of our thing, and you've probably heard of a few of our places, be it Georgetown or Boston College, Fordham, the University of San Francisco, Santa Clara University. Essentially, we're giant nerds. I'm known for my incredibly balanced view of the tech world. I think all companies should be looked at fairly according to the products that they put out. Except for Apple. I hate those guys. Oh, and Motorola too. Sometimes Microsoft can go a bag of and you. That's right, I'm calling you out, Zuckerberg. You know what you did at the Christmas party. Beyond that, I'm a geek. I was a geek way before I was a priest. A big geek. A huge geek. A big, huge geek. A big, huge mega geek. A King Kamehameha-sized geek. In fact, someone once measured my geekiness and told me
it's over 9,000! What, 9,000?
Ooh, sorry about that. That was a bit dated. That's my bad. But seriously, though, I think I have a lot to offer a call-in show. I've been in the industry for more than 30 years, so I know the ins and outs of tech. With my IPTV show, I've been able to interview some of the tech luminaries around the world and check out some of the coolest gear, be it a NAS or the latest phone.
Name drop in there.
In short, I want to be on Tech News Today, and I want to be in this caller show because I love to talk about tech. It's one of the things that I'm passionate about.
Seriously.
So, I know you're swamped. I know you're getting a lot of responses. I know that you're getting a lot of requests, but please, give a priest a chance.
And then he included a clip from Buzz Out Loud from CNET where he wrote in and Molly Wood and Rafe Needleman and us talked about his story for like 5 or 7 minutes. Anyways.
Highly recommend it. If you want to go follow twitter.com/Jason Howell and read the whole thread because it was, I'm really glad you wrote that.
Oh,
it was really cool.
I'm going to miss him.
And we are going to miss him. He's up in Oregon now, although he can't stay out of the chat room. I have a feeling he will always be in the chat room.
Yes,
and he goes to the Vatican in about 3 months. But he's pre-taped a lot of know-hows, and I think he's going to be back one last time in August. In August, one last time. So we'll say the official goodbye then.
We need to interview him on triangulation.
I think you're right. I think that'd be a good. I should make that happen. We'll work on that. Yes. Meanwhile, he did leave us a little lipo. I'm sorry.
No, it's not lipo. It's light pie.
Light pie.
Yeah.
Watch his review.
A light pie.
The Raspberry Pi has become a staple of the maker and DIY community. It's a low-cost, single-board computer that can be used to create everything from a Tor server to a home automation controller to a video game arcade. But what if you wanted to do any and all of that in a portable, protected, self-powered unit? Well, that's when you need the Lithium Pi. Now, the Lithium Pi, or Li-Pi, is a Raspberry Pi case that combines a Raspberry, lithium batteries, charging circuitry, and a universal battery eliminator circuit into a NUC-sized custom-printed 3D case. The end result is a Raspberry that can operate for 12 hours on battery, can automatically switch between internal and external power without rebooting, can use any power source from a solar panel to a 27-volt wall wart, and is in a housing that can be expanded to fit any features or functions that you can imagine. The project requires a Raspberry, 3 18650 lithium cells, a battery charging circuit, a 5.5mm DC power jack, a rocker switch, and a UBAC. The circuitry is relatively simple. The 5.5mm power port is connected to the input of a UBAC. The UBAC will take any voltage between 6 and 27 volts and convert it into 5 volts, which is then pushed into a battery charging circuit. The battery charging circuit is connected to 3 lithium-ion 18650 cells that have been soldered in parallel. The charging circuit will keep the cells from being overcharged while also cutting off power when the cells hit 30%, just to protect the LiPi. When power is applied through the port, the charging circuit will charge the 3.7-volt batteries and power the 5-volt Raspberry. When power is removed, it will boost the 3.7 volts of the batteries to 5 volts and continue powering the Pi without interruption. The case is styled after an Intel NUC, or Next Unit of Computing. The batteries go into the base and get covered in a protective plate. Then the charging circuit and power switch slide into the base in their respective housings. Finally, the lid, which can be modified to hold extra batteries, fans, speakers, or even LCD screens, is secured to the top. Now, no matter what you want to create, the LiPi gives you the perfect enclosure to build it. For complete instructions on making your own LiPi, including the parts list and the 3D files, watch episode 385 of Know How. I'm Father Robert Ballecer, the digital Jesuit, for Twit TV.
I don't know what we're going to do without him making stuff.
I know, right?
I mean, it's just not going to be the same.
Maker.
The quad father, we call him.
He was cramming me full of information the past couple of months. I'm like, I can't do what you do. Like
No, we can't replace him. But he'll be around from time to time. And I know he wants to build a studio in the Vatican.
Yeah, he's already.
Yeah,
already working on it.
I presume that he will. If he doesn't do stuff with us, he'll be doing stuff on his own anyway.
Yeah.
And we hope we'll see him.
Maybe the return of Padres Corner.
I know he's gonna do that for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, time for the mailbag.
Send it in.
And it's being driven by the Podfather.
Holy cow! What have we done to Padre?
We shrunk Padre. You shrunk Padre.
That is amazing.
All right.
That is amazing. I love it.
I think. Did he do that? He must have done that. Right?
Slightly scary.
Yeah. Good news. There's one for you.
All right.
I guess he left behind a few things.
All right, great, cool.
More than a few things.
All right.
Unless he's found the graveyard of my old drones.
Yeah, that's from my desk. I recognize
this is the one that went up and never came down. Wow. Look at this.
Right on.
Yeah, Padre had to leave all this stuff behind. I guess they don't allow drones in the Vatican. They probably take that seriously.
He might have to work on that and change the rules a little bit. I think if anyone can pull that off, Padre can.
I am Father Robert. Fear me.
Who came? Eeny, meeny. That one.
The little antennas are lit up.
I know. It really is very impressive.
Wow. All right, I have the first of the two.
All right, go for it.
This is Tom the Butterfly Guy.
Oh, all right.
Any chance you could explain the difference between Authy and Google Authenticator? My wife's phone had to be replaced and we lost all our accounts. Yeah, that's a pain.
No!
I've got a feeling this would not be a problem with Authy. You're absolutely right, but I'd like some advice. It's not just Authy. There are a few of them. LastPass Authenticator also does this.
Yeah.
That allow you to save your authentication information for the next phone. So just to understand what's going on, you need to understand how authenticators work. They all work the same way. They're creating a time-based hash of a secret number that you're provided. It's kind of like the password. The website, let's say you're using authentication on Twitter. You can do it on Facebook, Twitter, Google. There's lots of them, right? The same authenticators all work the same way wherever you get them. They take that long, I can't remember how long it is, maybe 64-character long secret code, and they hash it with the time of day to produce a 6-digit number. Every 30 seconds, they do it again. So that 6-digit number is only good for that 30 seconds. It's a one-time password. Yeah. And that's used as two-factor authentication. So I log into my Google account or my Twitter account. I type in the password, and if it's the first time I've used this browser, it will say, okay, get your authenticator out. What's the 6-digit code? A lot of times for shorthand, they use Google Authenticator, as if that's the only one.
Right.
It ain't.
Yeah.
It ain't. It's just one. It's a standard. It's a well-known standard. A lot of other companies make authenticators. The problem with Google Authenticator is it doesn't save that. Now, this is probably more secure, but it doesn't save that secret code at all. Maybe it is internally, but there's no way to access it again. So if you get a new phone and you put Google Authenticator on the phone, you'll have to start over. You'll have to go to each site. And usually what that means is it's going to invalidate sometimes the password, but at least the authentication code. You're going to get a new secret number, and usually by QR code, so you don't have to try to type in 64 characters. So you get a QR code, you scan it, that's the secret number in that QR code, and then they can generate the 6-digit code.
Yeah, that process is not the easiest process in the world.
Oh, it's a pain in the butt.
Especially once you used Authy, and like you said, the trade-off is security, or security of all of your two-factor sign-ins. Like with Authenticator, it's really kind of tied to that device, and in order to put it on another device, say you lose that device or you want to switch to a new phone, you kind of have to say no more on that one, now it's over here, and go through the process over again for everything. Whereas Authy, it saves it all in the cloud, and that's very convenient, but it's also less secure.
If you wanted to split the difference, you could do what Steve Gibson does. He doesn't like the idea, I think, of, I don't know, I keep telling him about Authy and he just ignores me. But I don't think he likes the idea of somebody having that database of secret numbers somewhere. Yeah. Even though it's encrypted and it's trust no one encryption, no one else can unencrypt it, et cetera, et cetera. So what he does is when you get the QR code, he prints it out. He shoots it with the phone, but he also prints it out, and he keeps it in a notebook, in a binder, somewhere safe in his house.
Oh, okay.
So then, if you did do that, I used to put it in LastPass. I don't think that's as good an idea because then it becomes a single point of failure. If somebody got your LastPass vault, they'd get your secret codes as well as your passwords. Right? So better to do what he does. Print it out, put it in a notebook, put it somewhere safe. You get a new phone, then you just pull out the notebook, and you've got all the QR codes. Then you could re-register.
That's smart. Steve is a smart guy.
Yeah. So that's one way to do it. I use Authy.
That's a really
do you use Authy?
I use Authy. Yeah.
So the advantage of that is you'll have an account. It's free. It works exactly the same way, except that it saves the long secret number to your account. It encrypts it. In order for you to use it, you have to have a passphrase that encrypts it. When you put it on a new phone, you'll have to type that passphrase in again, so don't lose it. You can even encrypt it locally in addition. So you can have a separate password that you use to unlock Authy on that phone each time you want to use it if you want to.
Yeah, right. Multiple kind of master password points in order to kind of lock it up a little bit
more. And it keeps it safe, and it's free. I don't know why it's free. They're just nice people, I guess.
And it's truly cross-platform. Authenticator is pretty much just mobile.
Right.
And I'm seeing some folks in the chat room saying, don't put Authy on your computer. If you really want to, maybe your use case allows for it, you can.
I have it as a Chrome plugin.
Yeah. So you can get access to those codes there as well.
Yeah. So you get your choice. Somehow you'll have to preserve that secret number. And if you can do that, then do it on your own or use Authy to do that. I feel completely secure using Authy, even on the desktop.
Yeah, it's not an easy question to say this is the right way to do it. It's really just, it's up to you and how secure you want to button that up.
The LastPass Authenticator does the same thing. And I'll tell you why I don't use LastPass Authenticator. LastPass is a sponsor. I love LastPass. We all use LastPass as our password manager. I don't want to have same problem, single point of failure. If somebody compromised my LastPass account, I'd be afraid that they would get the authentication codes in addition to the passwords. So it's I think always a good security practice to keep them separate.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, second email. Bill writes, my mother-in-law just purchased a Chromebook and wants to keep using her current email address, which is not Gmail. Is it possible to set up the Chromebook using her current email, or can she add the non-Gmail account to the Chromebook? Any help is much appreciated. I mean, the trick here is that the Chrome OS Chromebook, it's really designed to work with the cloud accounts that Google has created. So when you're setting up a Chrome OS device, be it a laptop or a desktop, you're pretty much required to use a Google email address because that's how all of those cloud accounts are synced to you and synced to the device. That's like the reason for having the Chrome OS device. You could sign in as a guest and that would not require an email address, but that's kind of like a dumb browser.
And nothing is saved.
Nothing's saved. It's pretty much, here's a web browser. You could use that to get to your email, but there's no real syncing at that point. You're just kind of using it as a browser terminal, and then when you're done, it ejects it all. Or you could, if you have the right Chromebook that runs Android apps, you could do something like install the Android version of Gmail on there, which allows for syncing of IMAP accounts. You could also, of course, install Microsoft Outlook. So there are ways around it. I'm guessing they probably aren't the most ideal ways as far as what you're talking about. Maybe you do set up a Gmail account, or sorry, a Google account for her, and that becomes where all this stuff is kind of synced and managed in the cloud. And then you go around that by installing Gmail and putting in an IMAP account into there. But it's not going to be as integrated.
The problem stems from the fact that you look at a Chromebook, you say, oh, that's a laptop.
Right.
It should work like a laptop. It isn't. It's not. It's not. It's a Chrome OS is designed by Google to work with a Google account.
Yep.
Because it's designed to be a cloud computer. In fact, you remember maybe the ads Microsoft put out. Remember they brought a Chromebook to the porn stars and said, I'm not going to buy this. It only works when you're online. Mm-hmm. They don't run those ads anymore, I notice, because everybody's online most of the time.
Yeah,
so it's
that's
like,
where we live
yeah,
our lives.
and you want it to be online. It has a small amount of internal storage. Sometimes people say, well, I've got 16 gigs. That's all I need. But you really don't want to store stuff locally. There's no backup of it. Mm-hmm. It's there for your convenience. But really, you want to use Google Drive. You want to use Google Office. You want to use Google Mail. And it's designed to do that. You need Chrome extensions. If you don't have a Google account, you can't download and install Chrome extensions. You want your bookmarks to be saved. The beauty of a Chromebook is you can power wash it. You can erase it completely. There's a simple, easy command. 2 minutes later, it'll be fresh and new. And you log into your Google account and everything, all your settings comes back. That's the point.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I don't know what it would be like to have a Chromebook without a Google account.
Yeah, I mean, but I can understand the question, because I'm sure, when it comes to like low-cost laptop options, let's say, there aren't a whole lot. Like, it's easy to look at what we're seing a lot of right now, which are these Chromebooks, and think, well, that's the right price. The hardware looks great, it gets good reviews and everything. It's just, dang, it's a challenge because I don't have a Google account, and I think that's kind of missing the point as far as Chrome OS is concerned.
That's what it's for.
It really hinges on Google account.
I don't know if you saw, but there was a rumor that Google was looking at putting Windows on their Pixel books, right? And I've seen other devices like I think HP makes a Chromebook, the NVX2, that's also a Windows machine. Mm-hmm. So they are like Windows machines.
Yeah.
They have much of the same capabilities. But if you're going to use Chrome OS, you're going to use it with a Google account.
Right. And they did announce a Google I/O Linux OS support, but that's still within the layer of Chrome OS.
I've turned that on my Pixelbook. It's wonderful. I love it. I love being able to use arbitrary Linux apps. And you have a real Debian Linux on there. It's not like Microsoft's doing where it's emulating Linux. It is Linux on there.
Right.
So that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, just get her. She doesn't have to use it for her email. She doesn't need to use it for anything.
Right. Yeah. Totally. I think then the challenge becomes what is the email service provider that she has, and is there a way through an app or some sort of
nowadays
just a web login?
Right. Most email has web logins.
Yeah.
And that means you could use it.
And boom.
If your internet service provider is a cable company, you just log in. If it's Outlook, it works. If it's AOL, it works.
But you're not going to get your Google Drive syncing to a non-Google email address. It just doesn't work like that.
But you probably don't want that.
Yeah.
In fact, you can use Microsoft Office with their web-based version of Microsoft Office. All of that. Just you can make a new Google account, just a different one. It's your Chromebook account.
Totally.
Leo's Chromebook at gmail.com. Don't use it for anything. It's just that's your login for that Chromebook and where all the data is stored for that Chromebook. That's all.
Yep.
There you go. We've answered the questions.
Boom.
You're going to find Jason Howell every Tuesday night around about 5:30, 6 p.m. Pacific time.
We've been really trying to start at 5 o'clock sharp, and it still doesn't necessarily happen, but we're starting earlier now, so 5 p.m. Pacific.
Nobody's requiring that. You do what you want.
I know, but we want to be more on time. I respect the fact that Ron is on the East Coast, and sometimes we go long, and he's just like, all right, I got to go, I'm tired or hungry or whatever. So I'm like, you know what, why don't we start on time?
All right,
so
Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
Be there or be square. That's 2400 right at midnight. That's kind of a good time in UTC time. It's midnight.
Yeah.
Right top of the hour. You can watch All About Android with Ron and Flo. You can also watch TNT with Megan Morrone. TW, sorry. That's
right.
Every Thursday, 2 p.m., right?
2:30 p.m. Pacific.
You're just confused.
For whatever reason, we're on the 30. I don't know why.
Is it the only show we do that starts at half past the hour?
Yeah, and I think it's just because...
No, it's not.
No?
This Week in Google?
Yeah, Twitch.
This Week in
Twitch
Computer
ends up
Hardware?
ending a little bit later.
Security Now, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
We're in fine company.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Leo.
If the Pope calls, say no. That's all I'm saying. You're not allowed. Not allowed.
That would be a very strange occurrence if that happened.
Mr. Howell, we'd like you to come to the Vatican.
If the Pope calls, I'm going to see if we can get him for triangulation is what I'm going to do.
Get him on triangulation.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks for joining us. We do the new Screensavers every Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC. Come by, watch us. You can either join us in studio, email tickets at twit.tv. We did have a lovely group in here from 2 places. St. Louis, Missouri, right? Nope. Springfield, home of the Simpsons, and from Long Beach, California. Come by. You put an email out to tickets at twit.tv. Is no charge if you're going to be in the Petaluma area. You can also watch live at twit.tv/live. That's the live stream. If you do that, please go in the chat room, irc.twit.tv, and join the kids in the back of the class. On-demand versions of everything we do available at the website, in this case, twit.tv/NSS for new screensavers. In fact, you can download audio or video of the show, but you can also subscribe there.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, me and Patrick. Patrick's just laughing at me once again. Yeah, you can subscribe there and make sure you get it every week the minute it's available in your favorite podcast application. As long as we're talking about subscriptions, don't forget our newsletter. Subscribe, twit.tv/newsletter. You'll get the latest information about stuff coming up this week on Twit. Twit.tv/store if you want merch. I think that's about it. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on the new Screensavers. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody!